Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, February 14th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown, so if you are someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts, how they can be used as a tool to make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Before I get to the watch list, I first just want to personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering next week. So if you're liking what you see as I go through the video and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can be used, how it should be used to build consistency as a trader, then certainly get signed up for the free class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up with. So like I said, if you're liking what you see, then definitely get signed up for the free class. Now, real quick, couple of clarification points. First off, the market is still open for a little bit of time, so that number right there will be changing because the stocks are still going to be fluctuating a little bit. But I like to do these videos when the market's still open for a little bit because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day action. And then next, I will be using what is known as a 30-minute time frame. So if you're a beginner, all that means is that each one of these candlesticks here, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So first one here, SPY, which is just the ETF for the S&P 500. So in other words, let's talk about what's going on with the general markets because it was another very, very rough day here. And from the technical point of view, started off in a very interesting manner because the price was hovering right there around that green trend line, which I'd put in there, in a previous video. And you can see that the price was trying to, stay above there. And it did do it for basically the opening hour. And then after the price fell below it right there, you can see it really never looked back. It fell and fell. And how bad was it? Well, not only did it break the trend line, it came down to that pink line right there, which is the very well-known, the very famous 200-period moving average. And it was almost like it didn't even exist. I mean, like a warm knife through butter, just cut right down through there and then continue to drop and drop. So yeah, overall, very rough day here for the markets, which now brings about another couple of key areas to watch moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that line there as it served its purpose. But moving into next week, another very important level of support now that I'm curious about to see if the price does head down to that area is going to be right here around the $436 mark. And then after 436, next key level would then be down there around the 432 mark. So 436, 432, next key levels of support. Now, if there is any sort of bounces, the main area to keep an eye on any kind of bounce is going to be that pink line there, which is just based upon the foundational rule in charting, which states when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if the price does bounce, then right up there at 445 is going to be that main area of resistance. But yeah, a rough day today, rough way to end the week. Next one, KAVL, and this is a little tricky to talk about from a presentation standpoint because there's a lot of perspective that goes into it. What do I mean? Well, if you're a day trader, scalper, flipper, whatever you want to call yourself, and you bought there, or maybe you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within, 17 minutes, well, then from that angle, yeah, the chart looks really, really bad. Now, if you care about things from the big picture point of view, I understand. There was a big pullback today, but from the big picture point of view, let's look at where these lows have been. So there's a set of lows there, set of lows there, set of lows there, there. And if you envision each one of these as stair steps, what do you see? Well, again, emphasis on big picture, but from the big picture perspective, you still have stair steps making progress in the upwards direction. So overall, from a general point of view, the chart is perfectly fine. But again, whether or not it's perfectly fine for you is going to depend on what your strategy was going in and where you bought. Because yeah, if you're a day trader and you bought right there, the chart is not looking fine for you. But generally speaking, everything is still fine with that pullback. And as far as levels of resistance are concerned, let's change that real quick. The key breakout area that stands out to me next week will be that trend line right there. So let's see if the price can recover and get up through that trend line. And if it can, then I would expect the overall uptrend to continue. Next one here, AMC. And overall, given the context of the markets, I'd say today was a pretty healthy day because as you saw when I started off, the overall S&P 500 got smacked today. So a lot of companies were getting smacked. But here, I mean, it's not like AMC exploded upwards, but it's not like the price collapsed at all. In fact, when I extend this support trend line out right here, you can see it even did a fantastic job of staying above there, along with that purple line there, which is the 50-period moving average. So from a support side of things, there wasn't a single support that was violated today, which once again, given the general context and why I wanted to start off with the S&P 500, a very impressive day. So overall, not exciting, but a healthy day. And moving forward, key area of resistance in the near term going to be right there at $19.60. And then after that, up there around $20.75. But I'm not going to mark out $20.75 because let's just first see if the price can even break above there. But overall, I would say today was a very good day for AMC. Next one here, SENS, very brutal day on this one. And like the overall markets, broke down through that pink line there, the 200 period moving average, which now brings about it being the key level of resistance. So if there are any sort of attempted bounces next week, that first big battleground that you kind of got to ask yourself the question of, okay, yeah, sure, the price is bouncing, but is there genuine power behind it? Well, right now that 200 period moving average valued right around, let's call it 285. So that will be the main area of resistance if the price does try to attempt to bounce. If the price continues to fall, the next key overall level of support to keep a close eye on will be down there at that level of $2.25. But yeah, overall, very rough day today. But what makes this interesting and why, it's on the watch list is you got to give credit where credit's due. Very big volume, good solid volatility. So if you like to play this price range and you like to play stocks that are maybe getting beat down too much too quickly, well, then this one definitely belongs, on your watch list for this upcoming week. Next one, AMD, which just got absolutely pummeled today. Quite frankly, a crazy chart. I mean, again, each of these represents 30 minutes, but not a single green candle all day long. That's the closest it got to green, but that one was even slightly red. Absolutely crazy. Not one green candle the entire day from a 30-minute perspective. Which makes this very interesting because AMD is obviously a very popular stock, but to have this sort of downwards trajectory on a stock, in fact, let's move this over here. There we go. I mean, this is absolutely, in fact, no, that's not even symbolizing what I'm trying to get across here. Let's just look at today but I mean, look how steep this line is. I mean, that line is almost going straight down. So my point here is this. While nothing is guaranteed, is it valid? Is it rational to think that if the price can get up through that trend line, that could create a halfway decent bounce? Absolutely. Now, I'm not saying a full-blown reversal, but from a trading standpoint, is it irrational? Is it a plausible thought process to have? Absolutely. Once again, I'm not saying anything's guaranteed, but I mean, this is just absolutely craziness right here. So you got to think that if the price can break through such a steep trend line, that it could very well make a bounce up to, potentially that 200 period moving average, which now you probably can complete my sentence, is going to be considered the level of resistance. Now, of course, yes, the first resistance is that trend line, but the next potential one up there at the 118 mark. But yeah, absolutely crazy chart, and I know I'll be keeping an eye on it. Next one here, SNDL, and this is why I like to do the videos while the market's still open, because check this thing out. Right now, last 30 minutes, surge in volume, and as I speak, this thing is pushing to new highs. So this is, like I said, always a fun situation to have. But as I talk about this one, clearly here, it should be pretty self-explanatory. Now, I've done this one. I think this is the third day in a row it's been on the watch list. But things were forming out nicely. Talked about how it was a good little pattern, that had formed. But today, the pattern is paying off. As I speak, this thing just continues to push higher and higher. So overall, and I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but a breakout has officially happened. A breakout is underway. So moving forward now, the newest level of support is just going to be that former breakout point down there at, let's call it 60 cents, which seems kind of silly right now given how far the price is away from it. But that just really kind of goes to illustrate how big of a breakout this is actually, at right now. But what about the fun stuff? Where are some of these next potential areas of resistance? Where, as you can see here, I'm having to squeeze down the chart quite a bit. But that next overall level of resistance right up here at the 68 cent mark, which comes from a couple of these highs over here over the past several months, as the price, is getting within striking distance there. So for all I know, maybe by the time you're watching this, you'll say, well, Clay, the price actually closed above that level because the market's still open for about 4 more minutes. And if that's the case, well, that would just tell you that this breakout has gotten that much stronger. But as of right now, 68 cents is going to be that key battleground point to watch going into next week. But overall, what a fantastic way to not only close out the day, but given that it's Friday, what a great way to close out the week. Next one here, SOFI, and this one has a massive battleground that longs and shorts and everybody in between is going to be watching, and that's right here at $12.30. I mean, check this out. And I want to be very clear, I'm not trying to come across like this is a great discovery on my part or that I have some sort of special skill. I assure you, people that even have a basic understanding of charts have noticed this level. And I say all that because when a lot of people are watching the same level, wondering the same things, call it self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can create some very dynamic movements. And that's what we have right here. I mean, generally speaking, look at all this price history, including twice today, both there and there, right at this level. So you're going to have shorts, rightfully so, that are thinking, if the price comes down there and breaks through it, I think that's a short. I think that thing could pick up some downwards pressure. That's completely valid. You're also going to have long saying, well, I mean, it's bounced off this level several times before, so I think it's going to bounce again. Again, completely a valid thought process to have. But somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. That's why risk management rules matter within a strategy. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the chart is directing everybody's attention to that level right there. So a super fascinating level. I'll be watching it. I'm going to be very curious about how the price behaves around that level, but stands out like a sore thumb right now. So from a self-fulfilling prophecy angle, whichever direction it ultimately goes, you got to think that it can create some additional movement. Next one here, UVXY, which is an ETF, and basically it's a way for you to make money if the markets are going down. So if you think that the markets are going to continue to go down, well, then you could buy something like this and trade something like this and still make money because it will go up if the general markets go down. And you can see right here, this is why it surged in, just a monster day today, because as I started off with the SPY, it was a monster down day. For the SPY, which meant that this one had a very big move here and has now formed a very, very interesting pattern here. So check this out. Massive surge of volume, and then what we have in the world of technical analysis, we have ourselves a bull flag pattern. Now, let me be very clear. Just because something's a bullish pattern does not mean for sure guaranteed the price is going to keep going up. My point here is that that's a more than plausible. That's a more than rational thought process to think, I think this thing could get some continuation and push up forward. And that's what our job as traders is to make not random decisions, right? We don't want to just be degenerate gamblers that are just randomly doing things. No, we want some structure behind our thought process. So while that doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to make money on that trade, nobody could accuse you of not thinking through something if you were to say, well, geez, huge volume, bull flag pattern, and you know what? If this thing can break to the upside of the bull flag, I think it could continue further. Well, like I said, not guaranteed, a more than rational and structured thought process to have. So like I said, if you're somebody that's thinking, I think the markets are still going to keep going down, then UVXY is one that I'd keep an eye on with that bull flag. Next one here, FB Facebook, and the bounce completely failed. So let me actually set up a little bit more context. Whoops. Right here. So what had happened, and I talked about this previously, how Facebook way too popular. You got to think it's going to bounce, pretty decently. And right there, very, very, very nice bounce, no doubt about it. But at that point, it was the question of, okay, yeah, nice bounce, but I don't know, is there actually any sort of power behind it? And it became, well, let's see if the price can show some signs of progress. And I define progress as that green line right there in past videos. Well, you can see we got our answer today. Nope, the price has not shown any signs of progress because where it closed today is essentially right back to where it started, and not to insult your intelligence, but price movements that go back to where they were, not exactly a sign of genuine power. So Facebook remains plenty bearish out there. Going to go ahead and get rid of that line. And yes, now, as I've stated with past charts, based on the rule, and levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if Facebook does try to bounce right up there at about 224 is going to be that main area of resistance. And then the next level here to watch next week that everybody's going to be watching, and there's no fancy reasoning behind it at all, other than the fact of at 216, as you can see right here, that's the lowest it's gone during, this big bearish area. So that would essentially be breaking down to new lows that have not been seen for a very, very long time. So like I said, that area of support is there's nothing fancy at all behind it. It's literally just a previous low that a lot of people, myself included, are going to be very curious about. But moving forward, yeah, as far as that bounce from earlier in the week, that was a total dead cat, no strength behind it. But let's see how things play out next week. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and this should mean a little bit more to those of you that watched the previous video, but been talking about this pattern here and talked about in the previous video how on Thursday the price had broken down below it, but it was still within striking distance of that trend line, but it was definitely a red flag of something. Okay, be warned, be ready. This could be a leading indicator of something, and yeah, it proved to be a big leading indicator because you can see that the price just continued to bleed and bleed after it broke down through that trend line. So this pattern here has now served its purpose. Price is ultimately broken to the downside with the new level of support to keep a close eye on, and what I'm curious about. And I think a lot of people right down there around the 845 mark, as that would be the little gap close location right here. Let me be very clear. Gaps do not have to close. Think about that. If gaps had to close, that would imply that there are guarantees in the market. There are no guarantees in the market. So no, gaps don't have to close, but if the price does come down to that 845 mark, you're going to have a lot of people watching that area right there. And then if there is any sort of bounce back in the upwards direction, definitely an area that I would expect to be a very stubborn level of resistance right up there around the $880 mark. But overall, Tesla did not like that trend line break. The sellers showed up, and now it's just a question of does this momentum continue into next week? And the next, big kind of telltale sign of that will be, first off, if the price does go down to 845, and then how does the price behave around that area? But it's certainly going to be a very interesting week. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, if you're starting to see the power and why this can be such a valuable tool to help make good decisions, to help build consistency as a trader, and you want to learn more about it, then definitely get signed up for the class next week. It'll be Thursday, February 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then as far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, if you would like for me to continue to make these videos, then please help me out with a couple things. Hit the like button, leave a comment below. Let me know, what should I be watching next week? What will you be watching? Or just say hi. But hitting the like button, leaving a simple comment below goes a long way in communicating to me that you enjoy the videos. And as long as I know people are enjoying, I will continue to put these videos together. So again, if you want to learn more about the tool, definitely get signed up for the class next week. And hopefully I'll see you there. And I wish you all a great weekend.